Welcome to the Resistance.
Hey Xers, and welcome back to Gen X Resistance. I am your host, Paul Stevens, your friendly neighborhood Xer. And this morning's episode comes straight from my kitchen table. No politics, no breaking news, just coffee, conversation, and a reminder that real connection still matters. It was about 8 a.m. yesterday, so Saturday, because I record on Sunday. I was up early because, well, I'm 51 and apparently my body does not believe in sleeping in anymore. The house was quiet. My wife was still asleep. And I've had my first cup of coffee and it was doing its best to kind of wake up my brain. When I hear the door open, and in walks my son. No text, no call, just shows up. And honestly, that is my favorite kind of visit. He didn't need anything. He didn't want to borrow any money. Wasn't there to ask me to fix something. Didn't need advice. He said, "Hey, Dad, I thought I'd just grab a cup of coffee with you this morning." We sat down, we talked. NFL matchups, how his Cowboys might do, how my Bears probably won't. A little politics, some work stuff. Just the usual back and forth. But something about it stuck with me a little bit later. It wasn't a FaceTime call or text thread. It was an across-the-table conversation. A real one. Two people, one pot of coffee, no screens between us. Now, I've always tried to raise my kids, both my son and my daughter, be able to sit across the table and talk, to really communicate, to make eye contact, to listen, to disagree, to ask questions. Now, you'd be surprised how rare that skill has become. You watch some young people try to have a face-to-face conversation, and you can almost see the panic set in. There's no edit button, no delete, no AI prompt to finish their sentences. I tell my kids all the time, you can't learn how to read people through a screen. You have to sit across from them. You have to feel the moment, the pauses, the tone, the body language. That's the stuff that builds understanding. Now, part of that is honesty. I've always told my kids to be honest, even if I don't like what you're about to say. That's a tough lesson because we live in a world where everything is filtered and curated. But I'd rather hear an uncomfortable truth than a polished lie. I've also told them to be understanding if my reaction isn't always exactly calm and collected, because I'm human and a dad, and I might push back, might even get a little loud, but it's not anger, it's engagement. Okay, there have been some moments where it may have been anger, but that's how real conversation works. You say your piece, I respond, maybe I rebuke you, maybe I agree with you, but either way, it's done in the spirit of communication. No one's canceled, no one's muted. We're just talking it out. You can't get that kind of connection from an algorithm that recommends what you say next. You learn it by sitting across from someone who challenges you and realizing that's not a threat, it's how people grow. Now, somewhere along the way, we stopped talking and we started posting. We started broadcasting instead of conversing. Now, everything's a statement, not a discussion. You scroll through social media and everyone's performing. They're not sharing to connect, they're sharing to control. We used to talk to understand each other. Now we talk to convince each other how right I am and how wrong you are. But conversation isn't about winning. It's about relating. It's about letting ideas breathe without an agenda attached. And that's something I think that we as Gen X, we understand instinctively. We grew up before everything was monetized and weaponized. We learned how to communicate, where tone and timing mattered just as much as the words did. But you know what? Conversation isn't gone. It's just hiding in plain sight. Take Brandon over at Gen X POV and also Real Talk with Brandon. He runs a couple of YouTube channels, and I don't know how he can balance that, but he does. but those feel like a digital kitchen table. He throws out a topic, could be politics, culture, or some random thought. And if it's live, he opens up the chat. If it's a new video, then he encourages conversation in the comment fields. People jump in, they may argue, joke, listen, talk. But it's not performance, it's participation. Nobody's trying to sell you a course or a product. Nobody's pushing an agenda. It's just people, mostly Xers, but open to anybody, having an honest, sometimes messy conversation in real time. Now that's what I call the digital table. We might not be sitting across from each other physically, but the energy is still the same. It's raw, it's honest, and it's real. And I think that's still where we shine as Gen X. We're the last generation that grew up having to call someone's house and ask their parents if they were home. And now we're the ones keeping real conversation alive on digital platforms. I've said this before, probably 100 times. We are the bridge. We are the analog hearts in the digital world. But it's not easy because everything about modern media is built to push, not exchange. Every platform wants your attention, your data, your reaction. But what do they give back? Noise, outrage, anxiety. The average person today is flooded with information, but they are starved for understanding. Every post is designed to provoke, to get a reaction, not to connect. When my son and I sit across the kitchen table and talk, there's no algorithm pushing topics or tracking engagement. It's not about clicks or reach. It's about relationship. That's the difference between communication and content. One feeds the soul and the other feeds the system. Now look, I'm not some old man yelling, "Get off my lawn!" I get that times have changed. Technology is not the enemy, it's the tool. But we've forgotten how to use it to communicate instead of just consume. You can have the most advanced tech in the world, but if you can't sit across from somebody, look them in the eye, and have an honest talk, then all that innovation is worthless. And I think that's where we come in as Gen X. I grew up in a world without constant noise. I learned how to be patient by waiting for the phone to ring, waiting for a song to come on the radio, waiting for the other person to finish talking. There's a novel idea. Stop interrupting each other. And I think that we can teach that. We can model that. Because the next generation doesn't need more content, they need more connection. So here's my challenge. To you, to me, to all of us who are still fighting the good fight. Bring back the table. Have coffee with your kids. Invite a friend over. Actually talk. No phones, no screens, just conversation. Or if you are online, create spaces where people can be honest without fear of being deleted. Let the conversation flourish. And when someone says something you don't like, don't run from it. Respond to it. When somebody calls you out, don't cancel them. Challenge them. That's how real dialogue happens. That's how ideas sharpen and respect grows. Because the truth is, no one ever changed their mind because of a meme, but plenty of minds have been changed across the kitchen table. So when my son left that morning, after my wife got up and had a little time to visit with him too, I topped off my coffee. I sat back in the quiet and I said, yeah, that's what this is all about. Not likes, not follows, not views, just connection. In a world that constantly wants to take your attention, your data, and your money, moments like that give something back. That's why conversation still matters. Because when it's real, it's mutual. And that's something no algorithm can replace. So go find your own table. Kitchen, coffee, digital chat, wherever. Pour a cup, sit down, listen, talk. And maybe, just maybe, we'll remind the world that the best conversations don't come with a push notification. All right, I'm Paul Stevens, and this has been Gen X Resistance. If you want to know where to find me, I'm on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. You can email me at genxresistance@gmail.com or leave a comment in the YouTube comment section. Until next time, stay honest, stay grounded, keep the conversation alive, and most importantly, stay rad, my friends.